The desperate signal. The signal arrived at Europa Station during the night shift, when Jupiter's radiation storms were at their quietest. Senior communications analyst Zara Okafor was reviewing routine deep space background noise when her console erupted with an energy signature unlike anything in the databases. "Captain Vale to communications," she called, her voice tight with urgency. The signal wasn't random cosmic interference, it carried complex mathematical patterns that screamed intelligence. Captain Marcus Vale arrived within minutes, his gray hair disheveled from sleep. At 53, he'd spent most of his career listening to the void, hoping humanity wasn't alone. Tonight, that hope was answered in the most terrifying way possible. "What do we have, Zara?" he asked, settling into the chair beside her workstation. 37 distinct frequency bands, synchronized transmission lasting 4 hours and 16 minutes, she replied, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Origin point, Kepler 442 system, approximately 1/200 light-years away. Vale's eyebrows shot up. "That would make the signal over a millennium old." "That's what's strange, sir. The quantum signature suggests faster than light transmission. This message is less than 6 months old." Zara pulled up spectral analysis charts. "It's not just a signal, it's a package. Compressed data, linguistic patterns, even what appears to be visual information." "Get Volkov up here," Vale ordered. "If this is first contact, we need our best xenolinguist." Dr. Dmitry Volkov arrived 40 minutes later, his thick Russian accent cutting through the tension. "You wake me for alien television?" he grumbled, then stopped short when he saw the data streams. "Bоже moi, this is sophisticated." For the next 18 hours, Volkov worked with the station's quantum computers to decode the transmission. Vale and Zara took shifts monitoring other communications arrays, confirming that Europa Station was the only facility receiving the signal. Earth's most distant outpost had been specifically targeted. "I have partial translation," Volkov announced, exhaustion heavy in his voice. "But you will not like what it says." The main display shifted to show elegant script alongside English translation. The words that appeared made the room fall silent. To the apex predators of Sol 3. We are the Viridian Collective of Kepler 442b. Our civilization spans 12,000 of your years. We have achieved faster than light travel, quantum computing, and harmonious existence with our planetary ecosystem. We have never known war, violence, or the concept of killing another sentient being. Vale leaned forward. "They're peaceful. Completely peaceful. Keep reading," Volkov said grimly. The message continued. "Our galactic surveys have classified your species as Tier 7 apex predators, the highest possible threat rating. Your world is categorized as a death world where survival requires constant violence. Your history shows 14,000 recorded wars and the development of weapons capable of planetary destruction." Zara felt her stomach drop. "They're afraid of us." "No," Volkov corrected, pointing to the next section. "They need us. 3 standard months ago, our system was invaded by entities we call the Devourers. They are a collective biological intelligence that consumes entire biospheres. 17 civilizations have fallen before them. They cannot be reasoned with, negotiated with, or deterred. They exist only to consume and expand." The message included visual data, horrifying images of beautiful, crystal cities being overwhelmed by writhing masses of insectoid creatures, each the size of a human torso, peaceful beings with luminescent skin fleeing in terror as their world was literally eaten around them. "We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We have no concept of strategic violence. In 6 standard weeks, our species will be extinct. We broadcast this message to every Tier 7 species in our database. We know you are killers by nature. We understand you may find us weak and unworthy of aid. But please, if any fragment of compassion exists in your predator hearts, kill for us. Save what remains of the Viridian Collective before the Devourers move to their next target." The message ended with star charts, technical specifications, and a countdown timer. 41 days, 7 hours, 12 minutes until the Viridian homeworld fell. Captain Vale stared at the display, the weight of an entire civilization's desperate plea settling on his shoulders. "Get me a priority channel to Earth Command," he said quietly. "Humanity's about to face its first interstellar moral crisis." The fleet assembles. The emergency session of the United Earth Council lasted 14 hours. Fleet Admiral Yuki Tanaka sat in the war room beneath Geneva, watching world leaders argue while the Viridian countdown timer ticked away precious seconds on every screen. "We're talking about sending our entire deep space fleet to fight an unknown enemy 200 light-years away," argued the European delegate. "What if this is a trap? What if these devourers follow our ships back to Earth?" "Admiral," Tanaka finally stood, her small frame commanding attention through sheer presence. At 48, she'd commanded humanity's defense against 3 asteroid impacts and the Mars Colonial Rebellion. "With respect, counselors, we're not debating whether to intervene. We're debating what kind of species we want to be when the galaxy learns about us." She activated the holographic display showing Earth's available warships. 12 vessels. The UES Yamato, Bismarck, Invincible, and 9 destroyers. It's everything we have that can mount interstellar drives. Against an enemy that's consumed 17 civilizations, the African Union representative added grimly. "Yes," Tanaka replied, "because 17 civilizations worth of innocent beings died while someone else had this same conversation." The vote was narrow. 7 in favor, 5 against. Humanity would answer the Viridian's call. 3 days later, Colonel James Reeves stood in the cargo bay of the UES Yamato, watching his Marines load equipment that had never been designed for alien warfare. At 35, he'd served in the Martian conflict and the Titan mining wars, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Colonel," called Dr. Priya Nakamura, approaching with a data pad. The xenobiologist had spent the last 72 hours analyzing every fragment of Viridian intelligence. "I need to brief your squads on what we're facing." Reeves nodded, gathering his troops. Dr. Nakamura projected holographic images of the Devourers, writhing masses of chitinous creatures that moved like a single organism. Individual drones are roughly 2 meters long, primarily organic but with metallic exoskeletons they've adapted from consumed technology, she explained. They operate as a collective consciousness, making tactical decisions instantaneously across millions of units. Sergeant Maria Santos raised her hand. "Weaknesses? That's the problem," Nakamura replied. "They adapt to every form of resistance they encounter. Energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, chemical warfare, they've faced it all and evolved countermeasures." "Then how do we fight them?" asked Corporal Liu Wei. Dr. Nakamura paused. "The Viridians believe our advantage lies in our unpredictability. Every species they've encountered fights logically, systematically. Humans don't." The fleet departed Earth orbit under the cover of night, 12 ships carrying 8,000 personnel into the unknown. Admiral Tanaka stood on the Yamato's bridge watching Earth shrink to a blue dot behind them. "FTL drives online," reported Navigation Officer Chen. "Viridian specifications integrated successfully." The technology itself was a miracle. Faster than light, travel that folded space rather than accelerating through it. The Viridians had included complete technical specifications in their distress call, along with manufacturing details that suggested they'd designed it to be easily replicated by less advanced species. They wanted to make sure we could reach them, Tanaka realized aloud. The 3-week journey passed quickly. Daily briefings revealed more about their enemy through Viridian intelligence updates. The Devourers had begun as a single species that had consumed their homeworld, then evolved into a nomadic collective that traveled between star systems, stripping each world bare before moving on. "They don't just kill," Dr. Nakamura explained during one briefing. "They absorb. Every species they consume adds to their collective knowledge and biological adaptations." Colonel Reeves studied tactical projections. 17 civilizations worth of military knowledge. Worse, Nakamura continued. They retain the peaceful nature of their victims until combat begins. The Viridians report that Devourer drones initially approached their cities offering gifts and cultural exchange. The transformation into aggressive consumers only triggered when they detected suitable biomass concentrations. Admiral Tanaka found this detail particularly disturbing. An enemy that could mimic peace until the moment of attack would be nearly impossible for trusting species to defend against. On the final day of their journey, a new Viridian transmission reached the fleet. Ambassador Zephyr, last surviving member of their planetary council, spoke directly to the human commanders. Apex predators of Sol 3, the translation read, "We have monitored your approach. Your military preparations horrify us. Your weapons are designed to cause maximum suffering. Your tactical discussions center on concepts we cannot comprehend. Ambush, deception, overwhelming force applied to vulnerable targets." The message paused, then continued. "We do not understand how beings capable of such calculated violence can also risk everything to save strangers. Perhaps this is why you survived your Deathworld while we, for all our wisdom, face extinction." Admiral Tanaka activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All vessels, this is Admiral Tanaka. In 6 hours we drop out of FTL at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. We're not just fighting for the Viridians, we're defining who humanity becomes among the stars. Whatever we find there, we face it together." As the fleet prepared for humanity's first interstellar battle, the countdown timer on every screen showed 37 hours until the Viridian homeworld fell silent forever. The battle for paradise. The human fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Kepler 442 system to find hell-consuming paradise. Commander Beth Morrison stood at the tactical station aboard the UES Yamato, her breath catching as the sensors painted a picture of devastation across her screens. "Admiral," she reported, her voice steady despite the horror before them, "I'm reading massive biological signatures throughout the system. The Devourer fleet. It's larger than our estimates. Luminos hung in space like a wounded jewel. That's why Viridian homeworld's crystalline cities, once visible from orbit as points of light, now flickered and died one by one, surrounding the planet. A living armada of bioships pulsed with malevolent purpose, organic vessels that resembled massive insects, their hulls glistening with absorbed metals and technologies from 17 consumed civilizations. 73 capital ships, Morrison continued, each approximately 2 kilometers in length. Escort vessels number in the thousands. Admiral Tanaka studied the display, her mind racing through tactical possibilities. Every conventional strategy screamed futility. 12 human ships against a fleet that size should have been suicide. But humans hadn't survived Earth by following conventional wisdom. "Communications from the planet's surface," reported Lieutenant Torres. "Ambassador Zephyr is broadcasting from underground shelters." The main screen shimmered, revealing a tall, graceful being with luminescent blue skin. Ambassador Zephyr's 3 eyes held depths of sorrow that needed no translation, but their words came through clearly. "Warriors of Sol 3, you arrived as promised. 3 billion of my people are gone. Perhaps 400,000 survive in deep shelters." The alien's voice carried resignation mixed with desperate hope. "The Devourers ignore our underground cities for now, focused on consuming surface biomass. But they will dig us out eventually." Captain Rico Vasquez, commander of the fleet's fighter squadrons, leaned forward. "Ambassador, we need intelligence. On their coordination methods, how do they communicate?" "Bioelectric pulses through specialized organs," Zephyr replied. "Each drone is part of a collective consciousness. They share tactical information instantaneously across the entire swarm." Morrison exchanged glances with Admiral Tanaka. A hive mind's greatest strength, perfect coordination, could also be its greatest weakness if disrupted. "Admiral," Morrison said quietly, "I have an idea. It's insane, but it might work." Tanaka nodded. "Insane tactics are humanity's specialty, Commander. Let's hear it. We can't fight their fleet directly, but we don't need to. If we can create enough electromagnetic interference at specific frequencies, we might be able to disrupt their bioelectric communications, sever the collective consciousness even temporarily." Captain Vasquez caught on immediately. Turn their coordination into chaos. But how do we generate that kind of interference? Morrison's smile was predatory. We detonate our fusion reactors, in sequence. Create a cascading electromagnetic pulse that blankets the entire system. The bridge fell silent. Admiral Tanaka understood the implication immediately. That would destroy our ships, Commander. All of them. Not if we evacuate crews to the fighters first, Morrison countered. 56 fighter craft. Minimal life support, but enough to get our people to the planet's surface. Ambassador Zephyr's luminescent skin flickered with confusion. You would sacrifice your vessels, your only means of returning home? To save your people? Admiral Tanaka replied without hesitation. Yes. The plan took shape with terrifying efficiency. Each ship's crew would evacuate to fighters, leaving only skeleton teams to pilot the vessels into optimal positions. The fusion reactors would be overloaded in a precise sequence, creating overlapping electromagnetic pulses designed to scramble bioelectric signals across multiple frequencies. Colonel Reeves objected strenuously. Admiral, we're talking about stranding 8,000 personnel on an alien world with no way home. The Viridians have FTL technology, Tanaka replied. If we save them, they can eventually build us transport home. If we don't, none of us are going home anyway. The evacuation began immediately. Captain Vasquez led the fighter deployment, his squadrons forming protective screens around the evacuating personnel. As the last civilians transferred to fighters, the skeleton crews began their final preparations. Morrison remained aboard the Yamato with Admiral Tanaka and a dozen volunteers. Through the viewports, they watched the Devourer fleet beginning to react to the human presence, bioships turning toward them with predatory intent. First pulse in 60 seconds, Morrison announced. The UES Bismarck positioned itself closest to the enemy fleet, its reactor already building toward critical overload. All fighters, maintain distance from the pulse zone, Admiral Tanaka broadcast. Remember, we get one shot at this. The Bismarck exploded in a brilliant flash, its fusion reactor turning the starship into a temporary star. The electromagnetic pulse raced outward at light speed, washing over the nearest Devourer vessels. For a moment, the bioships continued their approach. Then chaos erupted. Drones that had moved in perfect synchronization suddenly collided with each other. Bioships began firing on their own escort vessels. The collective consciousness, disrupted by the electromagnetic interference, fractured into millions of individual organisms acting on primitive instincts. It's working, Morrison shouted. Pulse sequence continuing. One by one, the human ships sacrificed themselves, each fusion detonation adding to the cascading interference. The Yamato was the last to go, Admiral Tanaka and her crew evacuating. To the final fighter just minutes before the reactor overloaded. From the cramped cockpit of Captain Vasquez's fighter, Admiral Tanaka watched their sacrifice bear fruit. The Devourer fleet, once an unstoppable force of collective intelligence, had become a chaotic mass of confused organisms. Bioships crashed into each other, drones attacked randomly, and the systematic consumption of luminose ground to a halt. Ambassador Zephyr, she broadcast to the planet. The collective is disrupted but not destroyed. How long until they adapt? The reply came quickly. Unknown. No species has ever successfully attacked their coordination before. But apex predator Tanaka. My people will remember this sacrifice for all generations. As the human fighters descended toward Luminosa's surface, Admiral Tanaka reflected on the cost of their victory. 12 ships destroyed, 8,000 personnel stranded light years from home, all to save a species they'd never met. But as she watched Viridian survivors emerging from their shelters, their luminescent skin bright with hope, she knew humanity had defined itself among the stars. Commander Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system. Admiral, how do we live with such violence in our hearts? Tanaka looked at the rescued Viridian children playing in the crystal gardens below, their laughter audible even through the fighter's hull. So that others don't have to, Commander, so that others don't have to. The battle for paradise was won, But humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun.